All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We've got a massive epidemic going on in the English language right now, and honestly, it's the overuse of one tiny three-letter word, sad. We literally use it for everything. You drop your ice cream? Sad. You accidentally text your boss a heart emoji? Sad. An asteroid hits the Earth? You guessed it, sad. But human emotion is incredibly complex, right? And using just this one blunt instrument for all of our feelings, well, it's doing our vocabulary a massive disservice. So today, we're stepping onto what I like to call the emotional vocabulary escalator. We are going to upgrade exactly how we express ourselves.
So, really think about this for a second. How many times did you actually say the word sad today? Or maybe yesterday? Or this whole week? Look, if you're a learner trying to really elevate your English, or even a native speaker wanting to communicate more effectively, leaning on this one word is a habit we absolutely need to break. Sure, it's an easy default, but it leaves your listener totally guessing about how you're actually feeling.
The difference between these two phrases brilliantly illustrates the gap we're about to fill. Whenever you say, I am sad, it's just a painfully generic statement. It's kind of like saying, I'm holding a tool. Okay, well, what kind of tool? Are we talking about a hammer, a scalpel, a paintbrush? We need precise tools to communicate our inner world. By the end of this explainer, you are going to be able to fill in that blank with the exact right word for the exact right situation.
Level 1, mild bummers. Let's take a look at those everyday inconveniences and temporary low moods. Think of this as a sort of visual thermometer for our vocabulary. Notice the star ratings. We've got our 1 and 2-star words like unhappy, upset, disappointed, down, and blue. Now, they all describe a low mood, for sure, but they belong in very different everyday contexts. You wouldn't use these for some major life tragedy, but they are absolute workhorses for daily English conversation. Let's look a little closer at our first 1-star word, unhappy. That's pronounced unhappy. Notice that prefix un, meaning not. It connects directly to a lack of satisfaction. This word describes a very mild, general feeling of dissatisfaction, so it's absolutely perfect for everyday letdowns. Like, let's say you get your exam results back, and they're, well, just okay, not great. You're unhappy with your exam results. Or maybe you're sitting at the airport and they announce a flight delay. Ugh, you're unhappy about the delay. It's mild, it's totally manageable, but it is specific. The absolutely crucial point here is understanding the nuance between sad and unhappy. Sad is just this broad umbrella emotion, but unhappy specifically means your expectations for satisfaction were not met. You wanted a good grade, you didn't get it. You wanted your flight to take off on time, it didn't. You're not exactly crying your eyes out, but you are absolutely not pleased. Next up on our 1 and 2-star level is the word blue. This is such a fantastic 2-star idiom. Fun fact for you, feeling blue actually likely originates from old sailing customs, where a ship would fly blue flags if the captain died while at sea. Pretty dark, right? But today it's way milder. If you're in a casual conversation with a friend and you're just feeling a temporary low mood, you don't need some dramatic, heavy word. You just say, I'm feeling a little blue today. It tells them you're a bit down, but it's temporary, informal, and no big deal. Moving on to level 2, specific stings. This is the 2 to 4-star range, where our emotions have very clear, specific triggers. Let's map out these mid-level emotions. The real secret here is the trigger. Your vocabulary choice is entirely dictated by the situation. Are your expectations broken? Then you're disappointed. Is the weather terrible and making everyone feel gloomy? Then you're gloomy. Did you just have a really bad argument? You're hurt. Matching the right word to the exact trigger is how you sound like a highly proficient, natural English speaker. Let's break down disappointed. This is a solid 2-star word that hinges entirely on expectation. Imagine you studied for weeks for a huge job interview. You buy a nice new suit, you practice all your answers in the mirror, and then you get that dreaded email saying they went with another candidate. Or picture planning a massive weekend getaway, and it just gets canceled at the last minute. You aren't just sad in these moments, you are disappointed because reality slammed into the expectation you built up in your head. Now let's see how this builds into a 4-star word, crestfallen. This is just a brilliant word to add to your vocabulary arsenal. It combines being disappointed with being embarrassed. Picture this scenario. You're standing up in front of your entire company to give a massive presentation. You click to the very first slide and your mind goes completely blank. You forget literally everything. That terrible, sinking, pit-in-your-stomach mix of failing in public, that is exactly what it means to be crestfallen. Shifting gears a bit to interpersonal relationships, we've got the three-star word hurt. When someone's words or actions cause you emotional pain, we're talking arguments, rejection, betrayal. You aren't just sad. If your best friend says something incredibly cruel to you, saying, "I am sad," just doesn't capture the damage. "I was hurt by what she said" points directly to the emotional wound they caused.
Level 3, profound despair. We're entering the 4 and 5-star words, and these are reserved for the absolute hardest moments of the human experience. We are now looking at top-tier emotional catastrophes. Words like despondent, devastated, grief-stricken, and desolate. Now, you do not use these words lightly. You definitely don't use them for a rainy day or getting a bad grade on a test. These are strictly reserved for extreme contexts, major life-changing losses, overwhelming shock, or repeated, truly crushing failures. When we cluster these heavily weeded words together, we see they give us the specific tools we need to talk about grief and loss. If you go through a terrible breakup or lose a beloved pet, you are heartbroken. If a family is dealing with the tragic death of a loved one, they are grief-stricken. Having these precise words is just so incredibly important because it honors the severity of the situation in a way that the word sad simply can't do. Let's look at a beautiful literary example. The violin played a mournful tune. Mournful is a 4-star word used to express deep, deep grief, usually in a more formal, artistic, or musical context. Like, you wouldn't necessarily say, "I am mournful that my coffee is cold." That sounds ridiculous, right? But a slow, crying violin at a funeral, that is perfectly described as mournful. It just shows how your vocabulary paints a vibrant picture. And that brings us to the absolute peak of our escalator, desolate. This is the ultimate 5-star feeling of emptiness. When someone experiences a truly great loss, they might feel completely hollowed out and hopeless inside. The thing is, it's often used to describe abandoned, ruined physical places. So when you use desolate to describe a person's emotions, you're basically telling the listener that their heart feels like an empty, abandoned landscape. It is an incredibly powerful word.
Right word, right time. Because the real key to mastering all this new vocabulary is application.
Okay, let's lock this into memory with a quick lightning round. Unmet expectations. You got it? Disappointed. Missing companionship. Lonely. Going through a terrible breakup. Heartbroken. Dealing with major, overwhelming shock from bad news. Devastated. And what if you failed so many times that all hope is just entirely lost? That's when you are despondent. Look at how beautifully specific English can be when you actually use the right tools. So I want to leave you with this final challenge. Which word are you going to use to upgrade your English today? The very next time you open your mouth to say, "I am sad," I want you to stop, catch yourself, and consult the emotional escalator. Are you just feeling a little blue, or are you truly crestfallen? Ditch generic default, choose the precise word, and make your communication as rich and complex as your actual emotions. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.